Hey, if you have an empty chair by you, will you raise your hand? We have some standing room. Hey guys, standing, if you want a chair, we're going to bring some more in, but here's some empty seats if you would like to get a seat up here. So, awesome. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. Thank you for being with us tonight.
I cannot take the heat. This girl's going home. Standing on my own 2 feet. Standing alone. I'm just a little weary of all the talking, all the buzz. And all I ever wanted was the feeling I had with us. I cannot take the heat.
Testing 1, 2. Can you hear all the way in the back? No. I think we're all going to have to be quiet when we actually get this thing going, and everybody will be able to hear.
Twin hearts and timeless love. And all I ever wanted was the feeling I had with us. All I ever wanted was the feeling I had with us. The road of life is rugged. Any road you choose. When I find the other side, I'll look for you. I cannot take the heat, so I'll say goodbye. A million things I never said, didn't even try. 'Cause words are cheap and sometimes cruel, and stuff we hear is seldom true. And all I ever wanted was the feeling I had with you. Yeah, all I ever wanted was the feeling I had with you.
It looks like we're expecting Crosby, Stills, and Nash up here, right? We're going acoustic today?
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to open us up. We so thank you for coming out. Give yourselves a hand for an absolutely packed out and kind of hot room. Thank you. So we're going to start with Amanda Schultz, who's one of the people, our Will County coordinator, and helped put this together. So, Amanda, if you want to come up, share a few short words.
Hello. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This means the world to me. I can't believe I'm looking out at a sea of people. This is beautiful. What I am going to read to you is actually an article that I wrote about what is happening in Illinois in regards to conservatism, and accepting that this state is permanently lost is the surest way to make it true. This is not to call anybody out. This is not to be inflammatory. This is simply a call to action for us as conservatives. We have been a blue state for way too long. We have put up with this authoritarian rule for too long. And this is simply just my observation as someone who's been on the ground, who is a precinct committee person. This is just, my observations in regards to that. Darren Bailey and Aaron Del Mar won the Republican primary for governor and lieutenant governor. That should have been a moment of momentum for a party that has struggled for decades in Illinois. While some Republican candidates and officials have shown support, the broader response has been marked by hesitation and silence. Too many have stayed quiet or kept their distance. In a state where Republicans have been out of power for so long, this lack of full and public unity after a primary is not just disappointing, it is self-defeating. This is not a new problem. For years, the Illinois Republican Party has operated more like a collection of individuals protecting their own political futures than a unified force willing to challenge the Democratic machine that dominates this state. The result has been predictable. Democrats have maintained total control of the governor's office and hold large legislative supermajorities. The city of Chicago has not had a Republican mayor since 1931. Even in areas where Republicans have an opportunity to compete, internal division and a lack of courage often prevent them from mounting a serious challenge. Too many Republican leaders have adopted a cautious, self-preserving approach. They avoid taking strong positions. They refuse to fully back their own nominees. They seem more concerned with not rocking the boat than with actually winning. This strategy has failed for decades, yet it continues. When the party refuses to unite behind its candidates, it signals to voters that even Republicans do not believe they can win. That message is damaging, and it reinforces the very defeatism that keeps this party weak. But the problem does not stop with the leaders. A dangerous mindset has taken root among too many Illinois voters. It is what it is. This is a democratic state. Nothing will ever change. Pritzker has too much money and power, and worse, my vote does not matter. I understand how easy it is to feel this way. I have felt the weight of it myself. Living in a state that has been dominated by one party for so long can make hope feel naive. Watching high taxes, families leaving, corruption scandals, and years of public safety failures can leave people exhausted. It is human to grow weary. But when weariness turns into resignation, when we decide that nothing we do will matter, we become part of the problem. The "it is what it is" attitude is not neutral. It is corrosive. It teaches our children that their voice is worthless. It tells candidates there is no point in running. It tells donors their money is wasted. It tells volunteers that their time is meaningless. And it hands the status quo exactly what it needs to continue: silence and low turnout. I have seen this up close as a precinct committee person and as someone working here on the ground in Will County. I have watched people who care deeply about the direction of this state still decide to stay home on election day because they have already accepted defeat. Every time that happens, the machine grows stronger and the people who want something better grow quieter. Doing nothing is not harmless. It is a choice, and it has a cost. Illinois does not have to stay this way, my friends. Other states with long histories of one-party dominance have shifted when enough people decided they were no longer willing to accept the status quo. Change does not happen by accident. It requires unity from leaders and courage from voters. Right now, both are in short supply. Real progress will require more than winning a primary. It will require Republican leaders to stop protecting their own positions and start acting like a party that actually wants to govern. That means setting aside personal grievances, rallying behind the nominee, and presenting a clear vision. It also requires us voters to reject the lie that their participation is pointless. Your vote is not wasted because the state has been blue for a long time. Your voice is not irrelevant because one side has more money, and giving up is not realism, it is surrender. I refuse to accept that Illinois is permanently lost. I refuse to believe that the people of this state are incapable of demanding better. And once more, I refuse to stay silent while the "is what it is" mindset continues to hollow out any chance of change. Scripture tells us not to grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. That principle applies to more than personal faith. It applies to the stewardship of the communities and the state God has placed us in. Faith without action is incomplete. Hope without effort becomes empty. And silence in the face of decline is not humility, it is abandonment of responsibility. Right now, the choice is simple. Republican leaders can continue with the same fractured, cautious approach that has kept them out of power for decades, or they can decide that the future of Illinois is worth fighting for together. Voters can continue accepting the narrative that nothing will ever change, or they can reject that mindset, show up, and demand better. Illinois does not have to remain a one-party state, but it will not change on its own. Change requires courage from leaders and clarity from voters. Both are still possible. The only question is whether or not we are finally willing to supply them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, we'll have Colonel Mike Myers. Mike Myers to give our national anthem.
Thanks, everybody, for showing up. I appreciate you gentlemen coming up, and town hall's a way to do it. Please stand for Pledge Allegiance and invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Cal?
You take your hats off for a second, please. Join us in a prayer. Almighty God, look down on this group of people that are coming here to express freedoms for which this country stands for, and bless everyone and give everyone the strength to carry on, and bless everybody that's here today so that it be safe and healthy. And God bless our troops. Amen. Amen.
All right, well, I want to thank everybody for coming out and joining us here today in Lockport. You know, Darren and I have been crisscrossing all over the state, all 102 counties, not just getting our message across via social media, but going up and talking to people eye to eye, face to face, and getting our message across. You know, Amanda in her speech said a few things. She said, we need to be bringing the fight. And that's exactly what the two nominees before you are doing across the state. Joining us here today means the world to Darren and I, and all of our volunteers and our team that put this event together, and everybody that's watching at home, not only here on Facebook, but also we're live on CNN right now as well, that picked us up. Because and some people might ask why. You're like, well, why would CNN pick up an event in Will County and Lockport? Because that's one of the biggest advantages that Darren and I have in this campaign. See, Darren and I he's running for governor, I'm running for lieutenant governor. The job that's before us, not the job after. So anybody that's there in Michigan or California, New Jersey, or New York, anybody that's going to be voting in a Democratic primary in 2028, you've tuned into the wrong campaign. Darren and I are here to take our state back here in Illinois because we're not running for president. And the reason that's important is every time J.B. Pritzker's out auditioning for president, we get equal time. That's why we have CNN tuning in with us. That's why we get free earned media everywhere that we go, at every press conference and every event. Because they understand that Darren and I care about our state. We're a Midwestern state. We're between Wisconsin, Missouri, Indiana, and Iowa. And as he broadcasts all of his left-level policies and dragging Illinois and Midwestern states to the left, we're holding it strong. That's one of our advantages. Number two, everybody keeps saying, we talked about it earlier, what are we going to be doing different? What is our vision? Darren and I have already showed why J.B. Pritzker doesn't deserve a third term. $56 billion budget, the highest budget Illinois has ever faced. The affordability rates in Illinois, unsustainable. Everybody in this room knows somebody that's moved out of Illinois because it's just too expensive to live here. Every time you get those utility bills, you're like, man, do I even want to open this thing up? Talking about public safety, does anybody here feel safer under the Safety Act? I don't think so. and the quality of education. Those are the things that we're targeting. Because Darren and I firmly believe that every Illinois child, regardless of what your parents do, regardless of where you grew up, should have access to that education that we pay these hard-earned property tax dollars for. If you graduate from high school in Illinois, Darren and I believe that if you go on to the military, if you go to trade school, if you go on to college, because college isn't for everybody, or if you do go on to college, you should be ready to go on day one. And for 7.5 years, that promise has not been made. I'm excited to be standing next to Darren Bailey and taking our state back here in 2026, and I'm proud to see every one of you patriots here with us. And we're excited about having the questions and answering true reforms here in Illinois.
And I too want to say thank you so much. You make our heart happy. I quote a lot what Ben Franklin said when he stepped out of Liberty Hall when they were drafting the Constitution, and people were asking, "What have you been doing in there?" And he said, "We've given you a republic if you can keep it." Well, this is the "if you can keep it" part tonight. And this is what we're going to be doing. We want to give you hope. We want to give you understanding why we're running, what needs to change in Illinois. And here's the deal. I hope that not everyone here agrees with us 100%. I hope somebody came here asking the question, boy, I don't know if I can support them or not. I don't know if I like them. But you came because you know your voice matters, because it will matter under this administration. We are running to cut the divide, cut the rift in Illinois. We are running to unite the entire state. We are running to make Illinois the greatest nation, the greatest state in this nation, as it once was. We're running to bring glory and honor to the city of Chicago as it deserves. We're running to win. And we must get everyone to show up and vote. You've already heard that. And Sheriff Riley, he did an amazing job bringing this, but I'm sorry, it's already out of date. HWI, Do It Best hardware stores, I don't know if you've heard that, they're moving to Fort Wayne, Indiana. We have got to stop this nonsense. So thank you for being here tonight. We look forward to having a conversation with you. We look forward to listening, which is very important. And we look forward to walking out of here with an understanding that J.B. Pritzker, Illinois, cannot afford another term under him. So thank you and God bless.
All right, well, we're going to get started with questions. I guess I should introduce myself as well. My name is Kenneth Woodard. I'm an attorney from Chicago, now living in Bloomington, and I help with engagement and strategy with the campaign. I've seen both of these gentlemen, like they said, crisscross the state. It's interesting because when you're as close to the campaign as I am, you see some surprising things, like Darren Bailey fixing an RV plug at 4 a.m. before he hits like 100 spots during the day. I'm like, is this man a real guy or is he a robot? Or Aaron Delmar, who I call up, I'm like, hey, there's a house music party happening in Chicago. Do you want to get on some sneakers and help me hit it? He's like, let's go. And this man shook hands all around the park, probably 300 people, and he's like a machine. So this is the team, right? You want a team like this who can do it any day, anytime, talk to anyone about anything, and leave a good impression. And so I'll get a front row seat to these guys. Now, we're going to get to your questions. Some of you I want to meet because you have some really interesting and funny questions. But this is literally the first one that I have. Anyone can take it. Give us a reason why we shouldn't move out of Illinois, please.
Your reason why you shouldn't move out of Illinois is sitting right here, first of all. Your reason why you shouldn't leave Illinois is because I need your help fixing this state. The reason for not leaving Illinois is because wherever you go, this is coming. So let's stay here. Illinois is a great state. Illinois, in times of trouble and despair in this nation, Illinois has shined. And we are going to shine again. And we're going to show the rest of this nation what a state can do when it's been upside down and all hope is gone. Because I'm telling you, the rest of our nation needs the hope story that's coming for Illinois.
Yeah. So good. Okay, next question. Will you be appointing new members to the ICC, the Illinois Commerce Committee? And I guess we can broaden that question out. what is your plan for switching out and swapping out administrative staff?
So that's a great question, because one of the things people always ask Darren and I, like, Darren, if you and Aaron get elected and you're in the governor's mansion and lieutenant governor's mansion, well, there's no lieutenant governor's mansion. Let me put that up first. And I would love nothing better to put Darren Bailey into public housing come January. But what can you do when the supermajority of the Illinois House and the Senate are Democrats? And the answer to that is this. Darren Bailey will be able to appoint 328 boards and commissions and 2,200 different appointments. If you don't like in Illinois that you're an insurance captive, that means if you have another policy in Indiana that has a lower deductible, that has a lower premium and a higher limit, guess who appoints the Illinois Department of Insurance? That man right there. If you don't like at the University of Illinois, where my daughter is going in a couple of weeks, that they give preferential treatment to kids from out of state and kids from overseas instead of our own kids who we subsidize through our tax dollars, guess who appoints every trustee to the University of Illinois, Illinois State, Northern, Eastern, Southern, and Western Illinois? That gentleman right here. Because if we remember in 8th grade, we have 3 equal branches of government. We have the legislature, which we know most likely is going to be the super minority as far as Republicans. We have the judicial branch, but Illinois has one of the strongest executive branches across all 50 states. And so we can make generational change on day one. So every appointment, if you don't like that they're going to raise our tolls, guess who appoints Illinois Toll Board? If you don't like what's happening in the Illinois State Police with flock cameras, guess who appoints every member of the Illinois State Police? Taking control of the governor's mansion is where we can make that reform and rebuild our state on day one.
So good. Okay, the next question kind of hits here at home at the American Legion. Are there plans for the state to help or improve veterans' housing and health care? So a veteran affairs question.
Well, my question to you is, are you okay with almost $3 billion from J.B. Pritzker going to people who are here illegally? Because you know what? That money should have been given and should have been there to help people who need that help. Senior citizens, veterans, God bless you. Yeah, we're suffering. I served a term as a state rep. I served a term as a state senator. And the demise that I saw in the state of Illinois, I was ashamed. I was sick at heart. So yes, you will be a given priority, because that's been a promise when you sign that dotted line.
Awesome. Yeah. How are you going to get crime under control?
What, I look like the criminal of the two of us, or what? No. You know, when the Illinois State Legislature took up the Safety Act, the original idea behind it was that we don't want to have a debtor's jail. You know, somebody here commits a low-level crime, shoplifting, get caught with a bag of weed or whatever, and most of us have $200 to be able to get out of jail, right, and post bond and get out. But there's a lot of people in Illinois, not just in the city of Chicago, but throughout our state, that don't have that $200 to be able to get out of jail. And so they didn't, you know, if you lock them up, they can't earn the $200 because they're in jail, right? They can't borrow from anybody. And while they're doing it, we're housing, we're feeding, we're providing health insurance, we're doing all these different things. So I can understand the original concept of it. But just like everything else that's happened in Illinois over the last 2 decades, they take it way too far to the left. Now they're letting people that have gun crimes, right? Oh, that's okay. Whoever made that sign is probably leaving the state too. See, nobody likes my jokes, right? Nobody. But all I was saying is that they take it too far left, right? Somebody that has a gun on them, maybe doesn't brandish it, commits a crime, they don't charge it. Darren and I are talking about reforming and getting rid of the Safety Act because we need to do a couple things. Number one, we need to keep it isolated to low-level crimes, shoplifting, things of those natures. That's number one. Number two is we need to start having a program where we can recall judges. Because you get one of these judges that gets elected, and they're not going anywhere for 10 years. Right? Now, most chief justices will put them in marriage court or they'll put them in traffic court or whatever, but these people just need to go. And so there is nothing like that. Because if you know anything about the Chicago Democratic machine, when somebody runs for state rep and they lose, they make them a judge or they make them a prosecutor or something else like that. There's no place for that in Illinois. And so how do you reform public safety in Illinois? You get rid of the Safety Act, number one. You put in smart legislation, number two. And we empower all of our law enforcement. There's 1,600 vacancies on the Chicago Police Department. That's egregious. And it's not just in Chicago. You go to Quincy, if you drive in there, you'll see $5,000 signing bonuses for anybody that wants to get involved in law enforcement because they can't get enough people. 220,000 first-level responder calls, 911 calls, take 18 to 24 hours to get responded to because we're short law enforcement. That's here in the state of Illinois. That can't exist, and that will not exist under a Bailey-Delmeyer administration.
I want to add something. Just a few days ago in the south side of Chicago, you've all probably seen or heard, maybe in the movies, the guardian angels in California. Did you know Chicago has that version of protectors? There are people out there riding bikes out and to engage the community, to be out there more, to help out the police when they're not there. We were really blessed to see that is happening in the south side. So Tyrone, thank you for that, buddy.
Let's give it up for Tyrone Muhammad. Thanks for joining us. Okay, the next couple questions, some of you are really funny. I want to know who you are. You can wink at me so I can see. Someone asked, are you going to live in the governor's mansion?
He already said it. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to tell you what, we're going to bring life to Springfield. We're going to bring life all over this state and in our area. So yesterday, Cindy and I celebrated 40 years of marriage. It's been amazing. Gets better every year. But prior to getting involved in government, our home was just known as welcoming and hospitable. And all of you will have the opportunity to come to Springfield to celebrate. That will be our home. We understand I will be out all over the state. But to that question, yes, and I am looking forward to it.
And afterwards, you can visit me at my apartment.
Next question. What is your favorite fish fry? Croatian Club Joliet or American Legion Lockport?
Go ahead, Darren.
American Legion wins every time.
And if you haven't had their beef sandwich, the beef sandwich here is amazing. I had one in the back. They do a great job, and they make it right behind the bar in front of you.
Okay, turning to a more serious topic. What will you do to control illegal drugs, specifically fentanyl, and prosecuting dealers?
Well, first and foremost, we have to get rid of the Safety Act. I mean, without that, we're stuck. So we get rid of the Safety Act, and we simply honor the laws that exist. And I'm telling you what, our prison system, have you been paying attention to what's happening in our prison system and why and how these drugs are continuing to make it in? There's something wrong. So as Aaron suggested earlier, with these appointments that we will be making in all of these agencies, I'm going to tell you right now that most of these appointments, I believe, are simple patronage positions. And I believe that when we put men and women into these positions and they have authority and they have knowledge, they have common sense, they have business sense, and then we put these people loose to start developing how this change comes about, and then we bring that times whenever it needs to be made into law, and otherwise we just set policy and we change things. Friends, it's all up to people. People make the change, and we are not seeing that right now because J.B. Pritzker isn't allowing it. So Safety Act goes, that's going to be a big hurdle that we overcome. And I will add to this, okay, you asked, what do we do about it? Start paying attention to the judges that you are retaining and electing. Nobody ever knows who these people are, and if they're not showing up to events in election time and making themselves known, start reading the court dockets, start reading the paper, start understanding who your judges are and what kind of sentences they're giving out. That's another cornerstone to change.
You know, far too long in Illinois, people has always been worried about the offender. Under a Bailey-Delmeyer administration, we're going to be concentrating on the people that need it the most, and those are the victims of these crimes. And that is a huge shift in policy. Punishing the people that make our communities unsafe and supporting those that have been the victim of the crimes. You concentrate on the victims instead of the perpetrator, it makes a generational change.
How are you going to navigate the Madigan machine in order to get change to happen?
Well, I do want to speak to this. Here's the deal. I served as a state representative. I served as a state senator. And I'm going to challenge anyone right now to go ask their sitting state rep or state senator, if they're a Democrat, if they served with me, how they view me. Because I'm going to tell you that most of them have said and are going to say, well, I don't agree with him. They're going to admit that. But they're going to say, I respect him. So we're going to use that respect to bring them to the table, because when we start work, we're going to do something different that's really, I don't think, ever been done before in the state of Illinois. That's our divide. We're going to focus on what 90% of Illinoisans have in common. That's affordability, that's safety, and that's education. We're going to come to the table and make life more affordable so people quit leaving the state, so business wants to come here. We're going to fix our schools, and we're going to make our streets safer. And if an elected official doesn't want to come to the table, well, friends, you know who I am. I'm here because I got here by communicating on social media to you. I'm going to go to the communities and talk to the constituents of those representatives or senators that won't come to the table to offer change. And I believe with my work ethic, with his knowledge, with our ability, we will get that done. I really do.
That's good. Do you have any plans to lower property taxes? I don't know if that's been a campaign issue, really.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's a great question, right? Is everybody here happy with their property taxes? Right. So how do we affect property tax reform, right? How do we do it in a responsible way? Because every time we talk about property taxes, the first thing that everybody says, you're going to defund the schools, you're going to take away schools. Why? 68 to 70% of every one of your tax bills pays for your public education. Okay, with that public education that you've been paying, is anybody here happy with the quality of that education? All right. So number one is this. For the last 7.5 years, J.B. Pritzker and the Democrat majority have been underfunding the local share of our income tax. Not property tax, our income tax. So everybody in this room pays 4.95% flat tax on the income. We give it to the Illinois General Assembly, and they're supposed to take a portion of that and fund education with it on top of our property taxes. When you underfund that by almost 30%, it makes the school districts out here have to do one of two things: reduce expenses or raise property taxes. Well, in any school, you know what 80% of any school district's budget is? Labor. That means getting rid of teachers. So we need to make sure that the state of Illinois is properly funding our portion of that local tax to support all of these local municipalities. Does anybody here remember when they started the lottery? Remember they said, oh, we're going to have the lottery. We're never paying another nickel in property taxes because it's going to pay for the schools. How'd that work out? Remember when they said, hey, we're going to put video games in every, breakfast joint, every bar, every restaurant, and it's going to pay for education. What's that worked out? We're going to legalize marijuana for everybody. Everyone's going to get high and, play kumbaya, and we're never going to have to pay for mental health again. They're not using the dollars that they're allocating the way they said they are. You want to know why? You know who controls the purse strings? J.B. Pritzker does, because he's the executive office. When they say that you got $2.5 billion to fund undocumented citizens in Illinois, where do you think they took the money from? They didn't pass legislation. Pritzker said, we're going to take money from this, we're going to take money from this, and we're going to redistribute it over here. Well, the good news about that is we can do the same thing in reverse. Where that money was supposed to go to give property tax relief for all of us can go right back. We can make sure the lottery money goes there. We can make sure that the gaming money goes there. Exactly rolling those things back and appropriating those dollars where they were designed to go. That's number one, right? Just doing the basics. And for the teachers that are out there, I come from a pretty good school district. I live in Palatine. We have District 15 and District 211, which is the largest school district for K through 8 and high school district in the state. And a lot of times people come to me and say, you want to defund those teachers. You want to take teacher salaries. You want to lower them. Everyone at home and everyone here, no, we don't. I like that my teachers make enough money to live in my community. You want to talk about accountability? I like to see my teachers at the grocery store. I like to see them at my 4th of July festival. I like to see who are educating my teachers in our neighborhood when they're walking their dogs. That's important for us. We're not defunding education. If you look at Indiana and Iowa, they have a 1% property tax. If you have a $350,000 house, the most you can pay is $3,500. Guess what? They still got public schools. They still have junior colleges. They still have everything that we have. But they fund the property. They fund their local share. They take the burden off the property tax holders. And when they bring on weed and video games and casinos and everything else, that money goes where it's supposed to. And that's what we can do here in Illinois.
Okay, this question was written by a doctor. I can barely make it out, but I think it says, how do you plan to increase voter turnout compared to the previous election? What are steps that can be taken to prevent voter fraud despite voter turnout?
Well, that's actually the key to winning, and that is exactly why we lost 4 years ago. Friends, we've got everything at our fingertips to win if people show up to vote. So what we need is for everyone that's in this room tonight, when you leave between now and September 24th, when early voting starts, or all the way up to the voting day, November 3rd, we need you to replicate yourselves. Make sure, have that conversation. Ask the people around you, especially the young generation, because they're frustrated. They're angry. Ask them, are you registered to vote? Help them get to the polls and vote. I'm calling all of the GOP chairmen in every county, and I'm encouraging them to fill their precinct committee positions. How many precinct committee people do we have here tonight? Precinct committee. So, God bless you and thank you. It's a very, it's a low-level position. But I'm going to tell you what, it is the most overlooked and the most important position in this constitutional republic, because it's by design. A precinct committee person, your voter precinct where you show up, well, you should have a person that's in charge of that area that informs the voters who the candidates are, and hey, make sure you're not voted, a new resident you came here. Let's get you registered to vote. That's the kind of enthusiasm that we have to build in 2024. Look at how many more people showed up to vote than showed up to vote in 2022. The votes are there, and many times in Illinois, these midterm elections just kind of, they get pushed aside. But the midterm election for us here in Illinois is the most important election, because that's when we elect our governor and all the statewide positions. So I'm trying to help build enthusiasm, offer support to all the local candidates. Every time there's a candidacy, we need to have people running for those, again, to inspire votes. And simply, if we do that, if we get out and if we push and help people get registered and remind them to show up and vote, friends, we can win this. And for later on, if you want to come and talk to me, if you are a GOP chair and you're not really for sure and you don't have a program, come and talk to me, because we've got a host of programs that we can connect you with that actually have a recipe for success. So it's up to every one of us here in this room tonight to walk out and make sure everyone that we know shows up to vote. If we do that, we will win.
I want to add to that real quick. So there's 3 things that we can do to answer that question additionally to what Darren said. Number 1 is it's too big to rig. We have to come out and get our voter turnout, right? That's number 1, because they can probably steal 1%, 2%, but they can't steal 10. So if we overcome with our voter turnout, you can't really rob it. 97 of 102 counties in Illinois are ruby red. I mean, red Republican areas. 75% of Illinois is farmland and rural areas. We win those areas 80-20, 90-10 in those 97 counties. But if we have a 22% voter turnout, it doesn't matter. People ask me often, Aaron, you're from Cook County, you're a Chicago guy, you grew up in the city, how are you going to win Chicago? And my answer to them is we don't need to win Chicago. We need to win about 30%. We can lose 70-30 in Chicago, and if the rest of the rural areas of Illinois carry up for us above, 35-40%, we get a big victory. That's number 1. Number 2 is in the city of Chicago. We're going to be putting our poll watchers, we're going to be putting our election judges, and we're going to be putting 87 attorneys into the most crooked precincts in the city of Chicago. So they want to play that game, we can play that game too. All right? And the last thing is, and this is where we need your help on this one, is our Chase the Vote. Right? When we have people that are out here, we need people looking at our nursing homes for early voting. right? Because they go in there and you got a bunch of people that, are a little bit older, some people that have dementia, and they're just filling them out. If we don't have our Republican election judges in the nursing homes, that's number one. Number two is getting out there and making sure that we have people not only in our counties here of Chicago, the collar counties are 74% of it is, but also getting our people out everywhere we go. And by doing that, we can create the votes. It happened in 2014 with Bruce Rauner, who was running against Pat Quinn. J.B. Pritzker is not just unpopular with Republicans, he's also unpopular with Democrats too, right? I know it's a shocker, right? When for a Democratic Party that hates kings, you get a guy that inherits billions and billions of dollars and spends 40, 50 million every year, pushing not at just Republicans but Democrats too. That's the definition of a king. And so when our people start standing up, not just our Republicans but our independents and soft Democrats, and seeing that, that's where we get a lot of wins in that.
So this question is similar to the last. The last asked about changes to your GLTV strategy. This one is about the campaign generally. What are you going to do differently in this campaign compared to last time?
We're focused on our message: affordability, safety, education. Cindy and I are living full-time in Chicago. We're focused on getting out to the business owners, and I will tell you this, already, and things are really going to heat up probably after Labor Day, but already, because of some very good friends, some very good supporters, we have reached people groups, areas, businesses that we didn't even know existed 4 years ago. Pastor Corey Brooks has endorsed us. He'll be coming on the campaign trail with us. Pastor Marcus Rogers, a host of several pastors and churches across Chicago, they know that change has to come. So they're replicating that message as well. Same hard work ethic, but at the end of the day, focusing on what all of us have in common, because I want to bring unity. I don't want any more political divide. It has to end. And that's exactly what we're focused on doing, and so far it seems to be working pretty good. So we get out, we show up to vote, we know we've got to get a turnout up, we can win this thing. So thank you for that question.
Someone wants to know, how do you propose to lower taxes for seniors?
Well, you're closer to being a senior than I am.
Okay, let's think about this. Gas tax. I mean, we're all suffering essentially from some of the same stuff. You get your tax breaks, but it's this high cost of living that is suffocating all of us. I'm talking to seniors across Illinois who are, mainly down in our area, and your increases up here in the ComEd market are coming, who are scared to death to open their next utility bill. Scared. Because they don't know what kind of an increase is going to be there. You're on fixed incomes. We get that. So therein lies the priority of just simply lowering the cost of living. These businesses, every time you go shopping somewhere, a 30% toll increase for commercial traffic doesn't sound, whatever. Where is that cost coming from? How's that getting paid? It's getting paid by the stuff you're going to buy at the store. They're just passing it on down. We're all being affected by that. The gas tax, think about this. The gas tax in Illinois is 50 cents, right? Well, have you noticed what the gas prices are in all of our bordering states? They're not just 50 cents higher, are they? They're usually $1 higher. And they have taxes as well. So why is that? Because of the regulations, the mandates, the fact that Illinois makes it too hard and too difficult to do business here in Illinois. And it impacts us all the same. So again, the Department of Aging, there's certain departments out there that look out for your needs and make sure that the money comes into your area. I don't know how you are here, but down in my area, the senior citizen centers, they're struggling. They're struggling because, just like our schools, J.B. Pritzker has pulled funding. And so when updates need to be made, many times local businesses are stepping in and trying to make up the difference. We need leadership that cares about you in Illinois and restoring what's been taken and simply making it more affordable to live in this state.
we're talking about affordability for seniors, but what about affordability for everybody? So today's August 3rd, right? I think I'm close, August 3rd. These campaign days kind of mix all together. As of August 1, everybody that's from Will County, congratulations. You got a 0.25% higher tax on your sales tax. That wasn't done by your Will County board. That wasn't done by your local Homer Glen Township or Homer Glen, the city of it. It was done by J.B. Pritzker and the Democratic majority in Springfield. They raised a 0.25% across everybody in the 5 collar counties. So when J.B. Pritzker goes on TV and he says, we're going to put more dollars in your pocket, I just try not to laugh out loud, scare my dog. You know what I mean? Because this is ridiculous. We have literally an example, less than 3 days old, of them raising our taxes again.
And we're going to stay on this theme of affordability. And this question here, it might be my favorite question of the night. And I can tell a lot of heart and soul went into this. This is also better handwriting than I could ever accomplish. Given that this young generation is unable to afford a home, starting a family, affording a car, to go to the job, and can barely pay back student loans, how will you restore our faith as young Illinoisans that the American dream is still alive?
I love that. Well, young Illinoisans, I hope you're there to support us and help us get us across the line. And then I hope you're there when we start filling some of these positions and when we need help actually protecting your future. I hope that when we start putting the right people into the right places, that college becomes more affordable across Illinois, that you don't have to graduate with the excessive debt. I hope that as we continue to build and business comes back to Illinois because we have created a better working climate, that you have a choice of jobs. What's the reason that many young people are leaving the state? It's opportunity that doesn't exist here. And they leave because the corporate tax here in Illinois is twice what it is of any state around us. That's how we build, that's how we save the future for Illinois. We create an environment that draws business, that families want to stay. We fix our schools so that you're being educated properly and you can afford to go to school right here in Illinois. And I so look forward to being able to do that.
Okay, this one just came in. Do you have an 8 and 5 strategy? Elect 8 state reps, 5 state senators to help down ticket Republican candidates to get elected in November. Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll go. Yeah. So what they're talking about is getting us out of the super minority in the legislature, right? We got 158 state reps, 40 of them, 117 state reps, 40 of them are Republican. You got 59 state senators, 17 of them are Republican. We're gerrymandered out of our own state, which actually aggravates me more than anything else, because if anybody remembers in 2018 when J.B. Pritzker was running, what did he say? Fair maps, fair maps, fair maps. We're going to make Illinois a fair map state. I don't know what happened with that, right? Probably same thing happened in the lottery, the weed money, and the video games. But here in Illinois, we have a ballot issue. Gerrymandering is number one, but number two is our voter turnout is incredibly low, right, for the reasons that we talked about earlier. And people say, well, we're never going to get out of that. It's because Illinois is not taking a page out of Texas and Florida. And people say, well, Aaron, that's an easy analogy to make because they're already red states. Well, let's think about Texas for a second. They got Austin, they got El Paso, they got Houston. Those are all big blue cities. What do you think their ranchers do? Their ranchers come out and vote 85% of the time because they know they need to dilute all the big blue cities. What happens in Florida? Oh, Aaron, it's a red state. Orlando's red, Miami's red, Tallahassee's red. No, those are blue cities. So what do you think the citrus farmers over there do? The argument that we're trying to make is all the people that are growing wheat, the people that are growing soy, the people that are growing corn in Illinois, which makes up a huge part of our state, they've not learned that they need to overvote the big cities. Those are our people. When we start taking a page out of that book and start doing that, we start winning. And that's the message that we're bringing, and we're showing people clear examples. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that Florida was a swing state. Remember, everybody was fighting for Florida. Got to win Florida. It's a game changer. It's the same thing. We want to make Illinois a game changer by handling, going back to the issues we're talking about, affordability, public safety, and education. Those aren't Republican talking points. They're not Democratic talking points. They're everybody's talking points. Who can't get behind those three things? That's what we're trying to talk about. Everybody wants to shift the conversation to partisan issues. We're trying to talk about rebuilding and reforming the state that we all live in. You can't hit us with those three things.
Do you know what governor is going to sign the next redistricting bill? The next one you elect. You realize that? Keep that in mind.
So good.
Okay, the next question came in online. What, if any, legislation that Pritzker has signed would you not have signed?
Oh, I was there front and center, so if you go on my campaign page and scroll back 6 years, you'll see it all. So, Safety Act, gas tax, FOID card stuff, school legislation. I mean, it's difficult. It's more difficult to consider what I would have signed that he signed. Friends, Illinois can't afford another 4 years of J.B. Pritzker. This man has decimated us. He's destroyed us. And he will finish the job before he runs for president, which he will.
I got one. Here you go. Right now, does anybody know what the Invest in Kids Act is? I'm getting a little bit in the weeds here. The Invest in Kids Act was a program that had bipartisan support and was here for 5 years, which offered kids that didn't like their public school an opportunity to get a few dollars to be able to go to a school that they chose. It gave kids that did like the public school that they go to money for tutoring on top of it. If you had homeschooling, it gave you money for curriculum, it gave you money for technology and everything else. The Democrats let it expire in 2005. In Trump's last bill, the big beautiful bill that people like or don't like, it creates a federal program exactly like that. Doesn't cost anybody out of Illinois anything. It's federal dollars that flow to Illinois that we can use to increase our quality of education for every one of our kids. J.B. Pritzker has not opted in. 32 states have already opted in, including North Carolina, blue state, Colorado, blue state, New York, blue state. Illinois has not opted in. The reason I bring this example up is because he's putting his own fight with Donald Trump before the people of Illinois and before our kids, right? He'd rather make himself in a better position and not give Trump a win on this bill than make sure that each of our kids are educated in a proper manner. It's unacceptable. One letter, White House, we want to opt in. Help the kids of Illinois. Won't do it. Won't do it. The second thing, you're talking about legislation that has passed. You know, Jeremy Gorn over here is from the Tribune. I'm going to give him a shout out over here because last time he asked me a question, he's like, Aaron, you said that there's waste, fraud, and abuse in Illinois, but there's no proof of it. I go, you know, Representative Carol Ammons, who just got indicted, federal charges, she's from Champaign, Illinois. $18.5 billion goes through our grant system. Some of it's federal, some of it comes out of our own coffers, each of these agencies. She redirected a bunch of her money that she gets for her district that only Democrat state reps and state senators get. Republican, if you have a state rep that's Republican or a Republican state senator, state rep, you don't get any money back to your district. But if you're a Democrat, you do. Each state rep gets $1 million. Each state senator gets $3 million. She took a part of her $1 million and positioned it to a nonprofit charity that she made hire her kid. And when that first charity fired her kid, she went and gave the money to another charity that did hire her kid again. There's 118 state reps, 78 of them are Democrats that get that money to their groups. There's a roadmap to where the waste, fraud, and corruption is, and Carol Ammons, and this is not a year ago, this is like 2 weeks ago, she's going to go join Madigan in Indiana for the rest of her day. It's perfectly fine with me. But this is a roadmap to where we're talking about that. How about we just take the money that the people of Illinois give us and use it in the direction that we can, that we've appropriated it for? Instead of giving it to nonprofits that are enriching our children, that are enriching our own families. On top of that, she took all of her money that she got from her campaign finance, right? Where do you think she got her money? She got it from the Democratic Party of Illinois. Guess who they got their money from? J.B. Pritzker. He's the #1 donor of the Democratic Party of Illinois. She then hired her staff and said, hey, I'm going to pay you $30,000 a year. I need you to give me $10,000 back in cash. Kickback scheme. Federally indicted. Right? This is what's happening in our state. So when you look at this legislation, why do we all pay the same taxes as everybody else? And how come the Democrats get $3 million per state senator and Republicans only get $1 million? We don't get any. So we got to go deal with them? It's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. It's egregious what's happening in the state. And that's why we're out here fighting. I'm getting all heated up.
See what you did, person who asked that question?
Sorry, Darren, I get emotional.
Got Aaron mad. Well, somebody is obviously mad about this question. You put your name here. I won't say what it is. It's addressed to Darren. What is your plan to deal with non-citizens that have taken high-paying construction jobs?
Well, first of all, to find that and figure that out and get to the root of that. Because here's the deal, guys. This has got to end. This nonsense. We go after the people who are dangerous, and that got completely. J.B. Pritzker, are you aware of what the Trust Act is? The Trust Act is an act that allows the governor to tell local and state law enforcement that they can't work with federal law enforcement. So, that's part of the reason why things went sideways with ICE coming to Chicago, because they came to Chicago and then they received no help. They didn't really need to come to Chicago because the constitutional law was being broken, our law was being broken, and state and local law enforcement should have been able to take care of the problem immediately. Because all they were doing, or all they were there for, is to go after the most dangerous people. So, I think you've hit on an interesting idea that whenever state contracts are issued, obviously we need to take a look at that and make sure that that's not happening, and to make sure that Illinois citizens first are receiving the jobs and the benefits that they should be getting. So that's part of the stuff that as we begin to delve into this, and especially after elected from November to January and January on, that we're going to be cracking open, that we're going to be discovering and finding and pinpointing some of these businesses and people that are doing this, because it's destroying our state and it's destroying our society.
I want to touch base on that real quick. When they're talking about the ICE enforcement, it means a little bit something to me, because most of the people they're snatching up look just like me. And I say that tongue in cheek because this is one of the things that Illinois has manufactured itself. Right, if you're in law enforcement and you have a bad actor that commits a crime, they get them, they prosecute them, they go through the judges, they get convicted, then they go to jail, right? You don't just get deported, you go to jail first. But then when you get released, you normally can call ICE and then they grab you and then they take you away, right? But they don't. They let them go back into the regular community. This is where the problem there resides. Then ICE gets notified about it, right? Then they have to go grab 6 or 7 guys that look like SWAT officers to go grab them. And most of the time, they're in highly densely populated areas, apartment complexes, housing complexes, things of that nature. Not everybody, but a high percentage of them. So what does that do? It makes the 6 or 7 guys that got to go get him or her in danger. It puts that person in danger. It puts everybody that's in the community in danger, right? Well, think about this. If we would have been able to work with them, if Darren Bailey was governor already, we could have taken one set of handcuffs off, put another set of handcuffs on in a controlled environment, I don't know, like a police station, what do you think about that, or maybe a jail, then nobody's got to go hunt for anybody anywhere, right? Everybody's safe. Controlled environment. No one's arguing they got to go, right? But it doesn't happen that way. When you were looking at Broadview, remember that, in the federal detention station? They built up fencing in the area. This is real world stuff. They built up fencing in the area. Why did they do it? 1, to protect the federal officers conducting, their work. Number 2 is protect the protesters. Nobody's saying you can't protest. You want to go on the sidelines, hang your things, sing songs, put out banners, do whatever you want to do, knock yourself out. It's America. Not what I want to do on a Saturday, but whatever you want to do. But what did the mayor of Broadview do? Immediately turn and file a federal lawsuit to take the fencing down. Because they want to create this atmosphere of action so everyone on their cell phones and everybody else on television and CNN or some have clickbait. What about just doing government correctly and doing it right by, Constitution, right? We have 2 of them. We got Illinois and we got United States. How about we just go off of that?
Okay, we're down to our last 3 questions. This next one says, you have talked about creating a Doge Illinois. Which sections of Illinois government do you feel are wasting money and or need to be changed? And on top of that, how are you planning to deal with the public and unionized retaliation to this?
It's interesting because I ask you, who is the lieutenant governor and who has the lieutenant governor been in the past and what does the lieutenant governor do? And most people don't know. You're going to know who the lieutenant governor is because this lieutenant governor is going to be in charge of it. So let them know what we got planned there.
Now I'm all hot and mad, talking about 2 questions ago, but I'll break it down very quickly. All of them. Every one of their agencies, every one of their programs, every little bit. I grew up pretty humbly in the city of Chicago, and every dollar that we had in our family mattered. And that's the way I think that public officials and the legislative branch and everybody should be looking at their dollars, because it's not their money. It's our money. They just think they can do whatever they want with it. J.B. Pritzker, for the last 7.5 years, is using our budget like its own budget. Well, he's the richest elected official in the United States, so he can spend his money however he wants. Take his toilets out, try to lower his property taxes, do everything else, right? But he's got to stop spending our money like it's his, because he can just throw money at a problem and just hopefully it solves it, but it doesn't solve anything. So a lot of people, independents, moderates don't like the word Doge, right? Department of Government Efficiency. They don't like it because, the Trump thing and Elon Musk and all the rest of it. I could care less about any of that. I care about what's happening here in Illinois. And we need to be looking at every one of our agencies, right? Darren and I are talking about creating a grant dashboard, because $18.5 billion, like I said, goes to the grant program. But you can't find any of it. You have no idea how our money is being spent when it gets out of one of these agencies. If you're with the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services and you hire a third-party contractor, they call them NGOs. It's a fancy way of saying a third party or vendor. NGO is not a fancy name. It's just another way of saying we can't do it, so we're hiring somebody else, right? Here's the problem. When we have any level of government, if you're township government, if you're in the sheriff's office, if you're in any level of government in Illinois, you can do a Freedom of Information Act, and you can find out where your money went and what they're doing. But the second that money leaves that agency and goes to one of these nonprofits, like the one that's going to send Carol Ammons to prison, you can't see anywhere our money went. So we're proposing legislation with a bunch of other legislators that if you get $10,000 or more of our money, and I mean our money, then we can FOIA you to see how you spent it. Right? If you get over 20% of your total income as a nonprofit organization coming from the state, then we're going to be able to FOIA you like we can the school districts and the park districts and the library boards, everywhere else in Illinois, so we can see how you're spending our money. And with the dashboard we're talking about says, hey, this is the amount of money that was allocated. This is how it was bid. Was it just directed, like Carol Ammons did, where she just handpicked whatever charity she wanted to without a bidding process? Because there could have been 4 or 5 other charities that could have done it at a better price and reached more people. But how did they get it? How were they bidding on it? How was the money spent? Right? If you're buying the central management system in the state of Illinois, it's where the procurement. You want to buy anything for any department in the state of Illinois, it's got to go through CMS. Right? If they're buying paper for $19 a ream, and we can go to Home Depot or wherever and buy it for $4, how come? This is where the $56 billion is going. We don't need to be taxing any more people. We need to take the money that we've already worked hard for, that we've already paid into the system, and use it efficiently and stop taxing people. So every bit of it we need to go through it.
We've got 2 more questions, and I'm fired up, doing everything I can to stay seated here.
I don't get any more Red Bull before town hall meetings.
Now, I saved these 2 questions to the end because I really think these 2 people are kind of on the same page. So we're going to do these questions, and then we want closing speeches from Aaron and then a closing speech from Darren. And folks, don't worry. They're going to hang out a little bit after for about 15 minutes. So come up to talk to them, come up, take a picture, come ask a question that you didn't want me to read up here, but you still had a personal question to ask. We can do that afterwards. So I'm going to read both of these questions together, and you all can kind of take which side of it you want. The first says, if you become governor of Illinois, how would you be able to pass or veto laws when the Democrats have a supermajority in the legislature? And the other one says, what is your plan on working with the Democrats to get your policies passed? I believe this will be your toughest obstacle. Gentlemen.
So I've already touched a little bit on this, and I think that's ultimately why, after Cindy and I felt the calling to step into this race a little under a year ago, because if you would have asked me a year ago if I was running for governor, I said, no, I'm not. No, I did it. But as we began to feel this need to step back in, we had to step back and we said, okay, if we're going to run, what's got to be done different? We've talked about a lot of that tonight. But probably one of the most important factors of me already serving is the fact that we realize that as we've talked about, we've got the same issues and problems. And that's why we're laser focused on affordability, safety, and education. Because we have got to show the people across this state and in Chicago that we can trust each other, that we can work with each other, and that we can get something done. How many people do you know that don't want lower property taxes? How many people do you know that don't want lower utility costs? How many people do you know that are, just frustrated with their energy bill and the gas tax? Knowing that how many people do you know that drive across state lines to get their gas?
Wow.
And when they do that, they're shopping, they're buying, eating out, they're spending our money. So I truly believe, friends, again, I'm a farmer from 4 hours south of here, and many of you have already come and you've talked to me, and hey, do you know this state rep or state senator from 20 years ago? No. I've always voted. I have always voted. But I got involved in this in 2018 when I got frustrated myself about tax increases. So I show up to Springfield and I see the brokenness. I serve a term as a state rep. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here. I could term limit myself out. I believe in term limits for 10 years. We need term limits. But I was frustrated enough that I stepped into the Senate position thinking, okay, I've got a broader expanse here. The Senate, they get along a little easier. But I got frustrated at that. It's like, no, I'm not going to stay here because we're just stuck spinning our wheels. And I actually have many stories of when we worked together, when Democrat state reps and senators came to me because they couldn't get enough support on their side of the aisle, that I was able to garner because they heard me stating something on one of my Facebook messages that many of you probably became to know me in April of 2020 when I got frustrated and decided to sue J.B. Pritzker because of the lockdowns. That's what I will do if we come to a stalemate in Springfield. I will talk to all of Illinois. I will be in your communities. I will be sharing what we could have and pointing out the people that won't come to the table and work with us. I will be a governor where the door is always open and everyone is always invited and there will always be a seat and you will always be heard. But right now, we have problems that are destroying our state and they are so simple to turn around. And that is how we will govern. And I believe wholeheartedly that within the first 2 years, we will see change. And I believe because of that change, we will begin to be able to push our differences, these other things which truly divide us. I think we'll be able to push those aside. I think we'll be able to understand people, understand each other better. And if you want to call that a crazy idea and a crazy dream, then there's no hope for us in your world. But I have that hope because I know people. I've seen them. We've been in those communities. I've worked with those people. And friends, everybody wants something different, and we are going to bring that something different with your help to the table. And I believe we'll see a better and a new Illinois out of this. So thank you for that question.
They're going to like to work with him a lot more than they like to work with me. He's got a much better disposition than I do. We have a lot of blue dogs in Illinois. They're Democrats. They're kind of moderate. They run in purple districts that want to see the same positive change that Darren is talking about and the vision that we have moving forward for the next 4 to 8 years. And that group, I think, will come along. And I think the other group won't, because they're not going to like it when we take all their stuff away. They're not going to be giving. They're not going to like it. They're not going to like it when we take all their stuff away, and they're not going to be able to, enrich themselves and give away little freebies, and the whole patronage system is going to go down the drain, and they're not going to be able to do any of that kind of stuff. Somebody's actually watching that cares about what happens to our state and is watching your money. I'm totally fine being unliked. I'm totally fine not being popular. I'd rather be the most quiet lieutenant governor that nobody ever heard of, just like the one you got right now, except actually do the job behind it. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I guess I'm doing a closing statement. I hope that everybody here today can understand the vision that Darren and I had before and the uniqueness of the team that we have. Darren mentioned that he's from 4.5 hours away. Might as well have been 15 hours away from where I stood point in the city of Chicago. But we all suffer under the same challenges. We all have the same problems because we all live in our state. That's why 30 counties want to leave and become their own state or get rid of Chicago and everything else. And I would just offer an opportunity for Darren and I to kind of turn this big ship around. Just give us a chance. Give us 4 years to see what we can do, right? You got somebody that is probably one of the most inspirational speakers, one of the most inspirational personal stories that you've seen, and somebody that I've grown to become incredibly close with over the last year through tremendous tragedy. And to see the character, the stoicness, and the sheer grit that I've learned as I've gotten to know Darren Bailey. See, when Darren and I got together, we did it because we wanted to take our state back, and we certainly did, but we looked at each other like, what are you doing here? What am I doing here? And so you spend thousands of hours in an RV traveling around the state and having conversations with him and Cindy, times that no matter what the outcome is in November, I'll treasure forever. Till they bring you into their home and they introduce you to their family, and you get to see the farmland and all 5,000 cats that they have outside. You won't understand. But I'm telling you, I'm incredibly proud to be on this team. It gives me the energy to fight every day, the passion that I had before it, because I believe in the gentleman that's standing to my left and his heart and his soul and where he wants to move our state. And I can tell you this, I will do everything in my power to enable that policy and that vision for the next 4 years, 8 years, whatever it is, as long as I got breath in my chest, blood in my veins. I'll fight for this man. And what I'm asking for all of you is to do the same thing and stand up and fight with us. Because if you do, we will not let you down.
I hope after tonight that you've learned why I partnered with Aaron Delmar as our lieutenant governor. I mean, he's been living this stuff. Palatine Township, Cook County Republican chair, he's been living it. He knows the mess that everything is. And I so thank you for joining and working with us. You know, let's be honest about this situation. The billionaire class of governors aren't working out very well for us. God bless them for the money that they have. I have no problem with that. But that seems to have been has created an environment or a group of people that think that they know more than we do and refuse to listen to us because, let's face it, J.B. Pritzker's had everything handed to him. He's not had to work for anything like you have, like I have. And that changes everything, especially when we talk about what we do with your money. So I hope you really consider and think about that we are you. And as you go and tell people why they need to show up and vote and who they need to vote for, just let them know that you got somebody common. Maybe that's what it's time for. It's time for commonality and common sense back in the governor's mansion, back in the state house in Springfield. You know, 10 years ago, I did not have this on the radar at all. People ask all the time, did you always want to run for, did you want to be governor, you want to be president or whatever? And I'm like, no, I just wanted to be left alone. And I kid you not, I'm serious. My wife will testify to that. Matter of fact, when we sat around in the fall of 2017, when I decided that I needed to run this race, I got my sons together with their wives because I knew that I had to have the wives buy-in with the boys at the farm. They were all in favor. I don't know if they wanted to get rid of me, but they knew this was our journey. So we talked and we prayed, and I knew immediately this was a journey I had to go on. And after 10 days of prayer and fasting, I came to him. I said, okay, I'm going to do this, but just keep me away from people. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not knocking on any doors. And I'm not walking in any parades. And I want to tell you what, that first parade, which was 2 weeks later, Cindy was actually irritated at me because she couldn't keep me in the center line walking with her because I was over hugging and shaking hands and high-fiving. God's given me a love for people that I just cannot let go, and I cannot and I will not park. And friends, I'm here to tell you, here's the deal. We don't know what tomorrow brings. You don't know what tomorrow brings. Let's live life to the fullest. You leave here tonight. Let's if you've got friends, family that just politically divided, let's just stop it. bring them together. Do whatever it takes. We're blessed that with the loss of my children, we were all good. I know where they're at. But I can't bear the thought of some of the stories that I hear of the divisiveness that really comes many times from government. Let's just make sure let's love each other. And even the people that across this state that don't agree with us, don't think like us. When you're reading those comments and you see those terrible comments about me or Aaron or somebody else, just pray for them and love them. Because at the end of the day, that is the only, first of all, we're called to that, but that's the only hope we have in Illinois. I truly believe that this nation, that this state, the heartland, the Midwest, rivers, the rails, the Great Lakes, we have everything we need for greatness. We've got the people. We've got the businesses. And once we change the climate, we'll have more. And we will be that shining city on a hill that I think all the states will look at and say, what happened in Illinois? And just as Illinois stood up and many other times, we're destined to do that again, but we can only do that with your help. And we can only do that if we unite, even despite our differences. That's my call. That's my plea, to walk out these doors, to replicate yourselves, and to love. God bless you so much for this time. You give me hope. God bless the great state of Illinois, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
All right, I was told by our campaign manager we got to do one more thing. Darren, turn around. All those people that are seeing us at home and on CNN can't see everybody. We're going to post one up on social media so everybody can see this packed house. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. All right. All right.
One more time, a round of applause for the next Lieutenant Governor and Governor of Illinois.